because I was supposed to pick him up and I forgot. Very, very, very gracious, and so I almost missed my cue here. Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you for everything you've done. David, you've done a great job. Oh, the ambassador's sitting right here. He snuck in behind us. You're going to have a real treat listening to Ambassador Grenell. He's a true patriot, a brilliant man. Ambassador to Germany, Director of National Intelligence, was able to shake a few documents free and get them declassified to start revealing the corruption within our agencies. But he also was the guy who negotiated an agreement between Serbia and Kosovo, which is a very difficult thing to do. But again, he's a brilliant guy, so we're going to have a good time listening to him, and then we'll take some Q&A. You all know what's at stake, right? I just met with a bunch of parents in Wauwatosa. Pretty well beside themselves in terms of what, how their views are just being overlooked. And I told them a couple stories about what we're up against. I woke up about a week ago, and I get these little Twitter feeds. And some of these videos are just delightful. I mean, the little puppies doing cool things. Or, this one, the labor depressing. And of course, I'm not the most uplifting character, so I immediately go and watch that. And it was a picture of a classroom with kids saying the Pledge of Allegiance. They look like maybe late middle school, early high school. What was depressing about it is it was a full class, and there were only about 5 or 6 of the students standing up saying the pledge. The rest of them were just sitting at their desks doing something. You combine that with a poll taken probably about a year ago now. It was a national poll, and asked a pretty simple question. To what extent do you love this country? And it was a pretty good sized sample, and as pollsters do, they dice and slice that sample, all the little demographic groups. And I guess the good news is every group, there was at least a majority of the people answered that they love this country in some way, shape, or form. Except for one group. Guess what that group was? Young people. So I can pretty well guarantee you that the kids sitting at their desks not saying the pledge, those that couldn't answer the pollster and say this, at least in a minor degree, they love this country, they weren't born that way. They weren't delivered to this land of unlimited opportunity, this land of plenty, this land of unbelievable affluence, this rare and precious marvel in the span of human history, not liking it. That was taught to them. That was indoctrinated into them. That's what we're up against. As I travel around the state after we opened up from our COVID shutdowns, I always talk about, I call it the list of horribles. I mean, if you've heard me on radio, you've heard it a million times now already. 40-year high inflation. $1 that you held at the start of the Biden administration is worth 88.3 cents. If you were lucky as a senior to have a little nest egg of $100,000, it's only worth $88,300 before the 25% devaluation of Biden's stock market crash. Record gas prices, by the way, driven purposely higher by radical leftists that want to force you to buy an electric vehicle that just happened to explode when there's a flood. The skyrocketing crime. I mean, you realize murders are up statewide from 2019 to 2021, 70%. In the city of Milwaukee, up 93%. We're on pace to have another record number of homicides here in Milwaukee. This is America in the year 2022, and we don't have enough baby formula to feed our infants. Thank you, federal government. And of course, what Ambassador Grenell and I were talking about with a bunch of veterans earlier today, the embarrassing and dangerous surrender in Afghanistan, which emboldened our enemies like Putin, the war criminal, to take this moment of weakness. Because let's face it, that list of horribles, all those things have made this country weak. The defund the police movement had dispirited our law enforcement. By the way, any law enforcement here?
Oh, yeah.
God bless all of you, okay? Thank you for your service. thank you for this. Please don't be dispirited. The vast majority, as you can tell, the vast majority of Americans truly appreciate your service, understand your service and sacrifice, so thank you. But getting back to the list of horribles. So it's also true what we've done to our military. You know, the wokeness versus military readiness has dispirited the finest among us. It has caused people to retire before they really wanted to. It's hard to recruit, both for law enforcement, it's hard to recruit for our military. All these things have weakened America. And so our adversaries act. Putin invades Ukraine, commits its atrocities, its war crimes. President Xi is eyeballing Taiwan. Kim Jong-un is lobbing missiles over Japan. Iran is emboldened. They're slaughtering girls for some minor offenses. We are facing a weakened America because of radical leftism. But set aside all of those list of horribles. As I traveled around Wisconsin, there's just something far more fundamental troubling Wisconsinites. And it's literally that we're losing this country. Yes. That we're losing this country. So this fundamental transformation that President Obama talked about as a candidate, that President Biden parroted as a candidate, we're seeing what that is. I mean, I just listed it. They're fundamentally destroying this country. And we are up against powerful forces. It's not a fair fight. It's not a level playing field. Now, not only do the Democrats have no problem lying with impunity, because the media never called on it, but the media will actually amplify their lies. So this is up to us. This is up to we, the people. But I often ask about that transformation of America. I mean, do you even like, much less love something you want to fundamentally transform? I always use the example, like I wake up in the morning, I look at my wife, Jane, I love you. I want to change everything about you. That wouldn't go over very well. But it's obvious, no, you don't love something you want to fundamentally transform, but that's their leaders. Please understand that. That's their radical leftist leaders, like the guy I'm running against who thinks the founding America was awful. That our national parks were created for only the enjoyment of white people. I'm sure Ambassador Grenell will talk about his support for the Ayatollahs in Iran. Wants to be the Dennis Rodman to Syria's Assad. Went on Russia Today 6 times as a member of Wisconsin Assembly. Vladimir Putin's propaganda channel, including days after the Dallas slaughter of 5 Dallas police officers, and rationalize their killing. Saying that law enforcement officers are over-exercising their badge or turning their badge into a license to bully. And said that slaughter of those 5 law enforcement officers, that was probably a retaliatory action. This is who the radical leftists in the Democrat Party cleared the field for to run for United States Senate. Some of you obviously does not love this country. That's who these people are. But it's not who most Wisconsinites are. Now, I always say the bias in the media is revealed far more in what they don't report versus the very overt bias in what they do. And so I have to believe, the vast majority of Americans and Wisconsinites, whether Democrat, Independent, Republican, do love this country. It's kind of slipping away with our young people because of the indoctrination. But they love this country. If you look at polls, 64 to 80% think we're on the wrong track. So here's what I want all of you keeping in mind. As you're out doing everything you can, like Mark Levin said, whatever you did in 2020, do more. Ask my ask, do more. We need to shellac them. We need to sweep them from power. We need to send a strong signal. So this is how you do that. Don't count anybody out. if you're talking to somebody, you get the sense that here's somebody who loves this country. Here's somebody who understands that our future's in jeopardy. They're concerned about our future. Ask them to do what President Biden said was his #1 goal. Remember that his inauguration 8 times. He said his #1 goal is to unify and heal this nation. So again, if you're talking to somebody, even if they're Democrat or Independent, if they love this country, if they're concerned about its future, ask them to join us. Join those of us that actually want to unify and heal and save this country. Can you do that for me? Can you do whatever you did in 2020? And I know a lot of you did a lot, but do more. If you took 6 people to the polls, take a dozen, take 2 dozen. If you talk to 10 of your neighbors, talk to 100. Do more. More than 1 million of our fellow citizens, the finest among us, fought and died for what I always call that one essential ingredient. It's what all of you, again, the left, they think big government made this country great. No. People like you did. You get up every morning, you just go to work and you contribute. But you use that one essential ingredient called freedom to dream and aspire and build and create this marvel we call America. So what is at its core, what this election is about, it's what it's always been about. Since the founding of this nation, as long as this nation survives, our elections will always be about that one essential ingredient, freedom. It's a fight for freedom. It's not somebody else's fight. This is our fight, and it is a fight that we absolutely must win. So God bless all of you. Have a great night. God bless America.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Olga Ravasi. She's a Serbian American Voters Alliance representative that has conservative Republicans throughout the entire country. Olga.
Wow, thank you, David. And I really wish to extend my gratitude not only to David, but to the Republican Party of Milwaukee County. It is incredible to be with you here tonight. As David said, I come to you from free state of Florida. And with our wonderful Governor DeSantis, I know he was up here not too long ago supporting our elected officials. We are going to re-elect them again. And we are going to, of course, make Wisconsin free state. And we are going to make it great again. Now, I just wanted to take a moment and tell you that I am here not only to represent the American Serb community. It is beautiful to be here in the American Serb Hall, and I thank my American Serbs who have actually galvanized and got engaged in the political process. And I want to thank Senator Johnson and Ambassador Grenell, who actually helped me re-engage the Serbian community and other immigrant communities who have been disenfranchised from the political process. We are here to tell you that we first, second, even third generation immigrants are a testament, but also a warning of what happens to countries who adopt sectional, radical leftist ideologies. Those countries disappear off the face of the earth. Many of us were born in nations that do not exist anymore because of radical leftism. And we are facing that here in our nation. And we must stand together, not only to support our elected officials, but to elect new candidates who will stand up for our Constitution, for our American values that are inherently human condition values that are traditionally conservative. I also wish to let you know that I worked for many years in the field of counterterrorism and transnational crimes. And President Trump was at the forefront of fighting on those issues, particularly on human trafficking and child sexual slavery. And we were very much supported by our elected officials. And I am here to tell you that we are going to make a promise to each other tonight, to our elected officials, but they are going to make a promise to us as well. We will fight together for this country because there is no going back. This country is the only place we have. And because I was privileged through my work to travel around the world and visit many countries, I am telling you, November 8th is not only the Freedom Day for us, the world is watching. Because they know that the last pillar of freedom is defended right here in this room with all of you and the rooms just like this across this country. There is no place to go. We have no backup plan. So this is the country to fight for. And America truly is indeed worth fighting for. And with that said, I have an incredible honor to introduce a very brave warrior, a fighter, and a champion who's always been standing on his principles. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how much they attack him, he's championed our values and our freedoms. And when we were introduced several years ago, he says to me, Olga, if there are 5 Serbs somewhere in the country, I'm gonna drive and go talk to those 5 Serbs to tell them why this is so important. And I really owe him a deep gratitude for helping me re-galvanize and re-engage the American Serb community, because we are going to be the catalyst of winning this election and winning in 2024 and taking back our country. He served as the acting director of national intelligence. He was the former ambassador to Germany, but I know this is his favorite title, and so is mine. He was the presidential special envoy for Serbia and Kosovo, my dear friend, Ambassador Grenell.
Thank you all so very much. It is such a pleasure to be at Serb Hall. Bravo! Thank you. Bravo! Thank you so much. I love being at Serb Hall. I love being with Serb Americans. Greetings from President Trump. There's so much to say, but I want to start and end with the fact that we have a great U.S. Senator in Ron Johnson. And we have a responsibility to return him back to the Senate. He really is my favorite U.S. Senator. I've seen him work hard for you. I've seen him sacrifice. He's got amazing courage. As ambassador to Germany, I worked with him. As acting director of national intelligence, I worked with him. And he did a lot of heavy lifting on the Serbia-Kosovo issue. I hope that you will fight very hard to return him to the Senate. I can't imagine having a U.S. Senate without Ron Johnson. He is somebody who galvanizes the other senators. And he is so courageous. I really hope that you get out and work very hard for him. I don't think I could have done the Serbia-Kosovo deals without Senator Johnson. When I needed him in Munich, when I was negotiating with both sides, and we needed to be very tough on Eldon Kurti.
Oh my God.
When I needed to be very tough, Ron Johnson came. He came into the meeting, and he helped us. When we ultimately were successful, there was only one U.S. Senator in the Oval Office to sign that agreement, Ron Johnson. The Senate wasn't in session. He came from Wisconsin all the way to Washington to be in that room, to witness and to make sure that it got signed. We had some last minute problems, but he was there the whole way. So I hope that you understand that you've got an incredible warrior and you have to fight very hard. I want to just say how special it is for me to be here. I'm not Serbian. But I have fallen in love with Serbia and the Serbian American community. I still go to Balkans pretty regularly. I would probably say that I'm there more than you now. I just was in Belgrade a couple of weeks ago. And if you haven't been to Belgrade, oh my gosh, is it pretty exciting. That riverfront is unbelievable. And I think that you have to go in the summer when like all the restaurants are like buzzy. But I just want to say that this community here, for me, is a special community because of what's happening right now. First and second generation Americans across this country are the canaries in the coal mine for what's happening here. You all have seen fascism, totalitarianism. You know what it's like. You told your children the stories, and I hope that your children are listening. Because Ronald Reagan told us that every great nation has to fight for their freedom. And I ask you, what are you doing to fight for your freedom? Gone is the day that you just get to come to America and listen to some great speeches and then go home and hope somebody else does something. Those days are gone. I know that's pretty depressing for many immigrants who came here thinking, I thought I left all that behind. I thought I was here to have freedom for the rest of my life. But let me tell you, as somebody who was born here and raised here, this place is so different than it was 20 years ago. We have young people in this room. You have a responsibility to fight for this country. It is the greatest country in the history of the world. We welcome almost 1 million people a year to become U.S. citizens. We're the most generous nation in the world when it comes to immigration. But there's 100 million people trying to come in, so you gotta have rules. And I don't think having rules is mean-spirited. I think what's mean-spirited is when you jump the line. When you break the rules, when there's a long line of people and you somehow feel like you get to go to the front of the line. That's not right. For those of you that have come to this great country as immigrants, you know what you left, you know what this country's about, and you have a responsibility as one of us, as a part of us, to help tell the story of how great America should remain. I'm going to go ahead and say it. One of our problems in America are 5th and 6th generation white liberals who have taught the children of America for 20 years to hate this country. They really need to travel a little bit more to understand how great this country is. It's incredibly important for you to get out and work hard. You are a part of us. You make America great. We need your voice. Never feel like you can't speak up because you have an accent. Never feel like you can't fight because you weren't born here. I have to tell you, some of the greatest Americans right now are 1st and 2nd generation Americans who have accents, who weren't born here, who know that they will fight for this flag harder than a whole bunch of people who actually were born here. We have a big problem in this country. The media will tell you that somehow conservatives and Republicans are the opposite, that we hate immigrants. You think, I mean, it's crazy. I love them because they're climbing over everybody else to get to America and to raise the flag. You ask someone who sacrificed a lot or waited in line to get here how important it is to hear the American flag or to wave the American flag, they understand. And I'm proud of the Republican Party of today, which is filled with working class people and first and second generation Americans and people who love this country, minorities. I think you all know I'm gay. I absolutely want to tell you that my flag is the American flag. It's not the rainbow flag. We have to have a united States of America where we get behind the flag and we're not embarrassed. The story that Senator Johnson told of kids not respecting the flag and not being able to say the Pledge of Allegiance, that's incredibly awful. But I have a leader in the Balkans who's a friend of mine, who you guys probably know, who once said to me, Rick, I don't know why you're surprised at all the problems in America. You've taught your kids for 20 years to hate your country. And you can't just wake up and say what went wrong. Part of the problem is we need Republicans who have allowed this to happen. They've allowed us to be called mean-spirited or anti-immigrant. I'm never going to back down from a fight. I want to thank you for all of your support through all of my time trying to negotiate deals in the Balkans between Serbia and Kosovo. I still feel very strongly that the deals we struck should have been implemented. They were hard fought, both sides agreed, and it would have transformed the Balkans. But what happened? Not only did Joe Biden and the Democrats completely mess up Afghanistan, and now they're picking fights with Saudi Arabia. We see the entire Middle East becoming a crisis. We've got crisis with China, Russia, new war in Ukraine. But you want to know where else it's a mess now? It's in Kosovo. We have an administration that is unwilling to implement the agreements. They don't have a presidential envoy even watching it. They've handed the issue over to the State Department. The people handling Kosovo and Serbia right now don't even know Joe Biden. They can't walk into the Oval Office. They can't talk to him. They got to go up the chain and put an idea on a piece of paper. Well, let me just tell you, after working in the federal government, nothing's getting done that way. You got to be able to walk into the Oval Office and say to the president, this is what I need done, and here's why. And you got to get the support of the president. Joe Biden has yet to even acknowledge this issue. And you want to know why we're having so many problems in Kosovo now? This administration is ignoring the entire region. Now, I know some of you have voted for Democrats in the past, but I'm just asking you to look at the facts. You have an administration completely ignoring the Balkans. And that, to me, is unacceptable, because not only do the people of the Balkans make us a better country, but as partners, they make us more safe and secure. And so I'm asking you to recognize that your senator is a part of that process. He is somebody who could put pressure on President Trump and me to say, think about these issues. If you don't have this voice in the Senate, I don't know who's going to represent your cause. You have to work hard. Some of you can give a little bit more money to help Senator Johnson. These campaigns are incredibly expensive, too expensive, but that's the reality. But some people also have the gift of gab. They can talk to people, they can convince people. You all have influence in your communities. And I'm asking you, when you leave this room tonight, to go into your communities on social media, all over your neighborhoods, and ask people to support Ron Johnson. Get active. You know how close these elections have been? I believe that the Serb community in Milwaukee can help put him over the edge. I'll finish with this. Imagine Wednesday morning after the election. Imagine you wake up after knowing Ron Johnson has done so much for this community and for America, and Mandela Barnes is the winner. Let me just tell you something that really makes me angry. The Ayatollah in Iran, a man who denies the Holocaust, who pushes gay people off buildings, who has murdered women for not wearing a head cover, who systematically wiped young people completely off the streets, jails people. Go look on the internet at what's happening in Iran right now. Our brothers and sisters in Iran are fighting in the streets for their life. They are absolutely risking everything. This is a real moment. And Mandela Barnes has liked some of the Ayatollah's tweets. He's talked positively, given aid and comfort to the Ayatollah. I honestly think that this reason alone, he should be barred from representing Wisconsin in the Senate. You can't be liking the Ayatollah. You can't be giving aid and comfort to the Ayatollah. This Iranian regime is terrible, systematically taking away people's human rights. I hope that you'll work hard, and I hope that you'll think about Wednesday morning after the election. Is the Serb community in Milwaukee going to be feeling like they didn't do enough? Or are you going to get on your feet and applaud and thank God that Ron Johnson was elected?
Yes.
I hope that you'll take that to heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador Grenell.